It's my absolute honor to be able to introduce to you today Stephanie Taylor. Stephanie Taylor is really living proof that life begins at 40. Stephanie basically blew up her life in her 40s, as she said to me when I first met her. Like so many of us who get stuck in a job or get stuck with life experiences, she grew up thinking that business and accumulating wealth was not for her. But after a while, in her 40s, she became an award-winning property investor with a portfolio of multi-million pounds. I must get the currency right because we're dealing with so many different currencies across the world right now. So she became a multi-million pound award-winning property investor. She is a #1 top best-selling author, and she's a top podcast host where she is currently. And right now, Stephanie has such an interesting legacy that she wants to leave, in that she is setting up an accommodation and an education trust to be able to help people, especially women, Stephanie, who struggle to find beautiful and affordable homes like she did as a single mom and teenager who was just trying to find her way and make her life a success, which she's done so beautifully. She was also last year voted the most inspirational person of the year by the famous Les Brown and the program that he runs called Potential Unlocked. Now she lives a life that she didn't imagine was possible for her. And she really wants to be able to spread her word, spread her message out there, and empower as many women, especially women in their 40s, out in the world. Stephanie is really going to be telling us how to blow up your life, no matter how old you are, no matter what age you are currently, and how you can do that successfully so through creating a property investment portfolio and in other ways. So Stephanie, I'm not going to take too much away from you. Let me give you the platform to share all of your knowledge and insights with us. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Great, thanks for the introduction, Anju. Actually, I think that's more or less said it, but I do have a screen share, so I will try. Will I be able to share my screen? Let me see.
You should be able to. I gave you permission to do that. Oh, there we go. Okay, let me know if you have any trouble.
Okay. Okay, brilliant. Well, it is great to be here. And what I'm going to talk to you today is about how to blow up your life with your mind. Over the next few days, you're going to hear a lot about different strategies to do it. I'm not going to talk so much about the strategies. I'm going to talk about the thinking that will help you to get there. So I'm going to start at the very beginning. It felt like hours, but it was actually only a few minutes. I was standing in the queue in the post office, and as I looked around me, I could see all the faces, the sad eyes. There was so much despair in the place. It was as though everyone had given up. And I was waiting in line to collect my payment, and it was £94.80. It's 2002 South African rand, and it's 126 US dollars. And that was to last me 2 weeks. And as I stood there and I waited, I felt so much shame, and my self-worth was just in the gutter. I was there with my baby son, Alex, in the pushchair. I loved him so much. I wanted to be a good mum, but I just felt that I'd done everything wrong in life. And my whole life felt like pushing a rock uphill, using a lot of energy, going nowhere. And I remember, I'm behind with my slides, that everything was hard. So finding somewhere to live, I walked into the estate agency, and the woman looked up from the counter without speaking to me, just looked at me up and down, and then said, "We have nothing for people like you." It's one of the moments I remember because I felt so wounded and so hurt. And it just sort of summed up how hopeless I felt and afraid for the future, because simple things were so hard. And as Andrew said, I'm an award-winning property investor with a multi-million-pound portfolio. I own 2 multi-six-figure businesses. I'm a #1 best-selling author of the book Rent to Rent Success, which is how to get started in property. And I'm also host of the top 1.5% podcast globally called Rent to Rent Success. As you said, I won Inspirational Person of the Year last year. The incredible thing is that all of those things have happened within the last 5 years. And incredibly, it just feels an incredibly short time. And all of the decades before were characterized by one thing. There's a difference in how I was living and how I was thinking in what helped me create that so quickly. And I would love to be able to go back to my 19-year-old self. When I think of her, it still makes me emotional because I saw how much she tried. And if she had the mind tools, which I now know, and which many of you know, she would have achieved success so much more quickly than she did. But my passion now is having these tools. I can't go back to my 19-year-old self, but I can share the message. And that message is what I'm here to share today. It's the secret of how to blow up your life at any age, to unlock the true desires that you have, the 3 L's that changed everything. And the first one is love. And it's so easy, isn't it, to love? For example, I know with their pets, with people who have pets, the love is unconditional. The dog or the cat or whatever the pet is doesn't have to do anything. It doesn't have to be anything. It doesn't have to act a certain way. No matter what it does, it's utterly lovable. And you love your pets unconditionally. For many, it's so easy to love the other people in our lives, the important people to us, our family, our friends, others. We can forgive them. We can feel compassion towards them. But for many of us, when it's ourselves, we are not very loving. We think that to change, we have to hate ourselves. At this time of year, for many people, it's all about the focus on changing the body, getting fitter, losing weight, maybe after Christmas indulgences. And it was like a client that I had come to me recently who was a coach herself. She's like me, a certified coach. And what she was saying was, I am so hopeless. I'm so worthless. I can help other people. Why can't I help myself? There's something wrong with me. I'm doing it wrong. She was criticizing herself so much, and she was finding it impossible to make the changes that she wanted to make. So I just said, because the changes she was trying to make, she was making them as a punishment. She was setting her exercising regime to be so punishing to somebody who hadn't exercised in a long time that it hurt her. She was setting her diet regime to be punishing so that she didn't do it. And I said, what if you just loved yourself and showed yourself compassion and understanding that you haven't done it so far? What if you set your goals with love for your future self, for the person who's going to wake up in the morning? What about if you choose something from love for her to have for breakfast? If you choose an exercise from love that she can actually do tomorrow, that you in the future can actually do without pain or exhaustion or hate. When you bring everything from love, you create the change that you want. We think in our heads, we have to berate ourselves, we have to hate ourselves, but actually, love is the answer. And before I move on, what I want to add is that the reason why change is so hard is there are 2 of us. There's you now, and there's you tomorrow. And when you make your plan today, you're thinking in your future brain. You're thinking for the aspiration of who you want to be tomorrow, next week, next year, in 5 years' time. You want to be the person who saves, who invests, who exercises, who is fit. But when you wake up in the morning, you also want to be the person who stays in bed. And so your toddler brain wants to avoid pain, seek pleasure, and do so using as little energy as possible. And you have to make it worth their while. That toddler who's having a tantrum, you have to love that toddler and encourage them and say, as you would if a toddler was having a toddler tantrum and wanting chocolate, you would love them through it, but not necessarily give them the chocolate because you want to give them something else. You want to give them the discipline and the love. It's all through love. So from compassion and love, we can make change. That's me and my mum with me in the photograph. So the first thing is love. That is where all change comes from. The second thing is listening. This is a photo of me with my sister. We're business partners together and we run our businesses together. And it's such a blessing. But I wonder if you listen to yourself. Because think about this. When the friends you have, you love getting to know them. You love engaging with them. You get to know them through listening to them and understanding them. But imagine if every time you meet your friend, every time you meet up, you decide you're going to watch a film, you're going to listen to a podcast, you're going to play some music, you're not going to actually listen to their thoughts. You wouldn't get to know them. You would be disassociated from them. And this is what most of us do when we try to listen to ourselves. How many of us have that quiet time in life where we actually listen to ourselves, ask ourselves questions, and allow ourselves to answer? How many times do you have in your day with no social media, no podcasts, no music, no papers, no radio, just nothing but 100% you? You are the most important person in your life. You're the most important friend you have. You're the one who's always been there for you. But do you know what you want? Because so many people, when they come to me for coaching, actually realize they don't know what they want. And just to caution you that if you haven't asked yourself this question before, what do I really want? If there were no obstacles, if money was no object, if there were no fear, what would I want for my life? What would I want to do? Your brain will likely come up with the answer, I don't know, because brains are lazy. They want that avoid pleasure, seek pain, and do so using as little energy as possible. But keep asking yourself, listen to yourself, and be a good friend to yourself, because it's the only way to really get to know yourself. Many people say that they feel that there's something missing from their life. They feel that there's a hole, and that's why this matters. When you listen to yourself and you know what you really want, even if right now you've decided you're not going to go after it, but you know what it is, you know the vision that was given to you, you know what the spark that you have inside you, you know what the purpose of it is to do, even if you decide that you're not going to do it now. When you have that honesty and integrity with yourself, when you listen to yourself, your life will change in a massive way. When I listened to the spark inside myself, and as you said, Anju, after decades of believing that wealth, financial security, business, abundance was not for me, I thought my life would always be a struggle. I listened to the spark. I leaned into it. I leaned into uncertainty. I leaned into fear, and I moved forward, because your life becomes much more fulfilling and expansive when you live your truth. And the third thing, not number two, number three, the third thing is to lead. So love, listen, and lead. When you know what you want, when you hear that spark, when you give yourself the time and the space to learn what you want, you will have something that 95% of people do not have. You will have that knowledge of who you are, what you want, and what you're here for. And when you have that, you can be a leader in your own life and inspire others around you. And it can change everything. But I promise you, when you decide to do this, and I know that if you're watching this, you are all about growth. You're all about the next level. You're all about evolvement. That is why you are part of this platform. So you will feel fear. And so the mantra that I've come up with, which is my motto for life, and is believe bigger, be bolder, be a game changer. And believe bigger is always the very first step. Is when you begin listening to the spark, when you begin hearing the whisper within, when you begin paying attention and seeing where you really want to go, when you can realize that the only person standing in the way of you achieving the dream life that you want to have is yourself. That's the first step. Believe bigger. And it's actually a practice of believing the bigger goals, practicing believing, because the results that you're creating in your life right now are based on the beliefs that you have right now. And to create different results, we need to practice and lean into different beliefs. And we need to start believing those different beliefs, even when there's no evidence to support it. We need to become the person who achieves success before we achieve the success. It's such a powerful thing to do. So step one is to believe bigger. Step two is to be bolder, because boldness is required to stand up and say, I'm a business person, I'm a property investor, or whatever it is that you envision for yourself. I'm a stocks and shares investor, I'm wealthy. Because whenever you do this, people will criticize you. You may even find that you criticize yourself. You may start to worry that your cousin's boyfriend's ex-girlfriend's wife will see you on social media and think that you've now changed. Well, thank God you have. You have changed. You are no longer the same person you were. You now have a bigger vision for your life. You now are inspiring yourself and you're inspiring others, but you must be prepared to be bolder, to stand up, to make mistakes, to have other people laugh or criticize or condemn, and know that you are moving forward to a bigger purpose. It's the purpose of your life. And finally, you want to be a game changer. This is the exciting part where you really change. You become a leader in your own life. That's number one. You become a leader in your community. And you can give so much more from abundance. You can give just by the very presence of what you're bringing, just by the very energy that you bring. But what I love about it is actually having that financial abundance. It means that I have been able to go from somebody who used to queue up to receive my payments. This was in the days before electronic bank transfers, etc., where it was you went to the post office and collected with a book, got a stamp and collected the money and budgeted with the cash. But I've now gone from somebody who was a recipient to being somebody who is a giver. And three of the biggest joys in my life I want to talk about. And even though I've told this story so many times, it's still because it's very recent for me, that it's 6 years that I've been in this world of business, entrepreneurship, and so much has happened. But on the right of this picture, I'm afraid it's just a snapshot, is my son, Alex. He's 30 years old. And that's my mum in the middle of my sister. But the biggest joy of my life is that when Alex was growing up, there was so much that he missed out on that I was not able to give him. That things that I wished I could have offered him, or even the mindset that I could have offered him that I did not know about. Oh gosh, I hope I'm not going to cry. But now he's investing in stocks and shares. He puts on the WhatsApp. We have a family. Oh gosh, I am crying. But he puts on the WhatsApp group, which stocks are you investing in, Mum? And my sister, because we have become, somebody else did that spark for me, and I'm that spark for Alex and the people that we work with in our property business, helping them. So that's one of the biggest joys, that I know that he because he has time on his side with investing in stocks and shares, will be able to create his own wealth for himself and leave a legacy for his family. And he'll be able to share that knowledge with other people as well. And it just makes me so proud and grateful that I had that moment, that I was lucky to be able to get this information. So the second thing that makes me feel so joyful is that we are building up, my sister and I, in our property development business, properties that we own, and we're building up this portfolio, but we are putting it in trust, sorry, as you said, Andrew, to help other people, so that nobody needs to go through that moment where they turn up and the person behind the counter just decides based on, it could be race, it could be something else, but they just make that decision. No, you're not the people. We're not giving our nice properties to you. And I want to have this accommodation and education trust so that the women who come to us, who can't find what they're looking for elsewhere, can find somewhere lovely to live, but also they can get the education I'm talking about how to use your mind to listen to yourself and improve your life. Excuse me. The third joy is that I get to share this message and help other people to have the realizations that I had so much later in life at a much earlier stage. Because imagine if I had been doing this for 10, 20, 30 or more years. So my reminder to you today, this is my reminder to you today is that you have everything you need to blow up your life, to live the exact life that you want to. It's just a case of allowing the power in your mind to be free, to giving yourself the silence, to giving yourself the love, to listening to yourself, and to leading yourself through the changes that you want to see. What I've got on the screen at the moment is B1G1. It's a way that we give through our business every single day. It's an online platform where you can give through your business, and we're giving to charities in Malawi and Zimbabwe. We're helping women to set up in business in Kenya. We're helping children to go to school, and it's just a way to use what you have to be able to help other people. Now, Anju mentioned the free gifts, and we do have a book. I wrote this book with my sister. It's called Rent to Rent Success. And it's how we very first started in property, which was not with buying it. It's how to make money from property ethically without buying it. So we started off like this, managing other people's properties, and then we started off buying and building our own portfolio. So it's a fantastic strategy, and it means that anybody who wants to can get started in property. Oops. And we also have another free gift, and that's what I've been talking about today. It's the Ignite Your Spark call. If you feel that you haven't listened to yourself enough, that you're not sure what spark or whisper is within you, that you can book a call with me and we will spend time together, and I will ask you the questions to help you uncover where your spark is. And you can get that at www.blowupyourlife.com. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much.